All right, guys. So if you remember in the last video, we took a knife or some other sharp tool and cut around the outside of our sculpture. And then we use those tools to try to smooth and straighten everything up. And we have the exterior of the sculpture cut out, and we did not cut out the inside. So now what we're going to do is use a couple other tools. This one is a hollowing tool. It has kind of a little opening. It works a lot like an ice cream scoop. There's usually a square edge and a round edge, and in your toolkits you should have something that looks like that. And this is a wooden sculpting knife. So what we're going to try to do is now we need to make our letters appear 3D. This is a 3D class, and we're going to use a subtractive method to try to take away some of the clay and make the letters pop out. So with your hollowing tool, you are going to come into these areas that you do need to make not so much a hole right now. We're not going to carve all the way through, but I would say carve to about a half or a quarter down. All right, so about a half to a quarter down. Go right up to where you drew those lines with your needle or some other tool. And you want to carve and scoop. As you guys can see, it works a lot like an ice cream scoop. You want to scoop this out. And so the first thing you're going to do is use these are called riveting tools if you want the fancy name for them. So the first thing you're going to want to do again is use the riveting tool, and you're going to carve about a half or a quarter of the way through. All right, guys, as you can see by the shadows here, I've carved about a half to a quarter of the way through all of those things. Now, if you remember from my drawing, this O here is going to become a little creature, and we are going to talk about that a little bit later. So now that I've used my riveting tool, I now want to take my wooden tool, and now I need to just kind of wherever the letters actually touch each other, I'm going to take this wooden tool, and again, you're not going to cut all the way through, but we need to kind of carve into the letters. As you can see here, that G is really starting to stand out apart from the N. So your job is now to become an artist, and you're going to start using the sculpting tool. You can use a little bit of water if you want, but in all actuality, I've found that if you let the clay dry out a little bit while you're working on it, the carving actually gets a little bit better. So I'm going to use this wooden tool now to kind of smooth out all of my little lines and imperfections, get into some of the little details that I couldn't get into with the riveting tool. And I'm going to use this to get rid of all the little dots and make my letters stand out. All right, guys, so there you have it. I took some time and used the wooden tool and the riveting tool, and I have carved and shaped and smoothed all my letters. Again, in another little video, I'm going to show you how to kind of add things, like I'm going to add my little monster here, but all the little dots are gone, and you can clearly see my G, my N, my U, my Y, and the start of my monster O. And so that would be the next step of your project, is trying to use these two tools to make the front of your project look good. Remember to only cut about a quarter to the halfway through, and do not slice through all these letters. You just want to use the tools to give the impression that your letters are starting to become 3D.